Hi, this is Eric with BC Gurus, and this is part 4 of web apps, and this video covers the layouts and your options. And layouts are really where some of the power of web apps start to come in. This is how you can basically create any kind of content you want, as long as it fits within the idea of a web app, and then use the different layouts for customizing in pretty significant detail how this is going to be outputted on your site. And you've got a couple different layouts that you need to set up when you're creating a web app. You have 2 different list templates you can use, so you can basically create 2 different list views. And then you've got a details template as well as an edit template. So for list templates, something to keep in mind is right now there's only 2 per web app, and a lot of the times you want to create several different views consisting of web app item or lists of web app items, and so you have to be real careful when you're using your list templates. The search results will also use one of your list templates, and basically the idea is you have several different modules for outputting web app items, and for the ones that output lists of items, you'll specify which of the 2, either the primary or the secondary list template, you want to apply. And a lot of the times if you need to get fancy and use more than 2 different layouts, you're going to have to do that by using CSS and sometimes even JavaScript to kind of modify those list templates. There are some unfortunate side effects when you're editing your list templates in the back-end editor, and I'll show you what I mean by that in a second. But the nice thing about web apps is all of the templates are exposed through FTP, so you can FTP into your site using Dreamweaver or another editor that supports FTP, and you can access the HTML for those templates straight from there, and at that point you can pretty much do whatever you need. And we're going to cover some of the different tags you have for using the list, some specialty tags such as the row CSS tag, which is how you can apply an alternating CSS class to an item, and some things like that. For the details template, it's important to note that so within a web app you have web app items, and each item is going to have a details page. Now the details template is going to be the template applied to the item layout. It's basically a template that you specify the form of the tags, but the actual details page itself will pick up the overall site-wide template that you've assigned to the item. So you've got, because each web app item has its details page, you can't just go into the pages section of your website and assign a different template to that page. That happens when you actually define the template for the web app item, but then the details template controls the layout of the data within that details page. So I'll show you kind of what I mean by that in a second here. Finally, and just part of this whole layouts process, we're going to talk about how you use tags to actually display the different parts of your web app data within the right place, whether that be in a list or the actual details template itself. So we're really on step 3 here of the web app creation process. The first part was just the details and the settings for the web app, then we defined our custom fields, and now we're on the layout step where we define how the different list views and the details in the edit view is going to work. And you've got those 4 templates, the list template, the alternate list template, and again, when you're using the module tags that output lists of items, you'll specify whether you want to use the list or the alternate list template. Sometimes the alternate list template is referred to as the backup list template. And then you'll define your details template, which will be applied to the actual details page. It will define the layout of the item when you're on that page, and then the edit template will be used if you're using customer submitted web app items. The edit template is used to that's basically where you put your edit form, and that's very similar to the details template in concept, except that it's got the edit form instead of the actual details output. Now What you're seeing here is the default layout for the first list template that you get when you create an item, and it's just going to have the name output on it plus this special tag called counter, and the counter tag is going to be used to output a number next to the item. You can use that or not use it. That's up to you, but in this case it'll just output a 1 for the first item, 2 for the second item on the list, and so on and so forth, followed by a period here. Now if we jump over into the HTML view, you can see that the default layout for this has a table, and what this is actually going to do, if you were to put this module on a page so that it's outputting a list of items, it's going to create an entire table for each item, and within that table you're going to have a single row, and within that row you're going to have a single cell that contains these two tags, counter and name. That may not be what you want. It would be a little bit more appropriate to simply have a single table row for each item, and then you would output a single table for the entire list, and each item would have a row. The problem is this HTML editor, if you try and do that, because this isn't strictly valid HTML, or at least it doesn't believe that it is, if you were to save this item out just like that, if we come back in here, you've noticed it's stripped out all of that HTML because it's trying to make sure you're doing something valid, and it didn't think that was valid. So if you want to achieve that effect where you have a real table row for each item as opposed to a complete table for each item, you're going to have to edit this template over FTP. And it's nice because you do have that ability. You can use Dreamweaver to connect to the site, and then all of these different templates, the alternate list, the list, and the details and the edit, you can access those through the FTP file system and make whatever HTML you want, and it will actually save that correctly. So that limitation isn't really a limitation of the template, it's just a limitation of this editor on the back end you use to create that template. For the details template, you get a similar default layout. Now I've customized this one for our demo, but I've created a 2-column table. The left hand column has just the field name, and the right hand column has this output, this tag output, which will output the data for that specific field for this specific item. When you're working back here and you're customizing templates, you can oftentimes get yourself into a bind and mess some things up. You've got this restore to default button down here, and when you click that, it's going to reset the template to the default. I point that out because your end customers, the people you're building the sites for, may decide to click that button, and when you do that, it's going to reset to the very basic web app default template, which is almost certainly not what you want. So you may want to tell your customers not to do that, and you certainly want to create backups of these templates, saving them out somewhere so that if that does happen, or rather when that does happen, because it will, you can easily get back to what you had without having to recode it from scratch. So the next thing I want to do is talk about some of the different tag outputs you can do. The idea here is you're going to construct some sort of a layout and then input the different tags within that layout. So you can use whatever HTML you want, create divs and spans and links, and then just use the tag insert button to output the different tags that correspond to the web app you've created. Now, at the very top of this tag drop-down list, you're going to get the default tags, things like the item name, the different address fields. If you're using location features, that's what's here at the top, and you can basically see the tags are named, so you can see what they are, but they also have a description next to them. You can output latitude and longitude, the street addresses, state, zip code, things like that. There's some specialty tags such as add to favorites, which will output a button or a link that will allow the customer to add this item to their favorites. You can output the categories that this web app belongs to, comment count. You can kind of scroll through these built-in tags and see what options they have. Most of them are pretty self-explanatory. Sometimes there are some tag modifiers. For instance, if you output the item name, it's going to output the name of the item. If you were to use the tag name on the actual list templates, it's not only going to output the item name, but it's going to turn that name into a link that can be clicked on that will take the person to the default page or to the details page. If you don't want that link, sometimes you just want to output the item name. You can add a modifier to the end of this tag, such as no link, and that will just create the item name without the link. So that's what you would do on the list template. If you're on the details template, the name tag doesn't output that URL, it just outputs the name. So you kind of have to be aware of that when you're using the different templates. Some of the tags have a little bit different behavior, and if you don't remember them, most of those are listed out in the tag thing here. You can see we've got name as well as name no link, so it's just right there, and it shows it won't have the hyperlink. If we were to go back to the details template, we'll have a little bit some different tags. You can output the URL, so the permalink of the item, and again you've got that no link option right there, so that it won't create a link out of that URL. It'll just show the link text. There's even another one that will include the full host URL as well. Again, tell a friend, this is a special built-in tag which will link out to the tell a friend page, where you can send your friends an email message linking them back to this item. Wait is based on the waiting. Now those were a brief overview of the built-in fields. For all the custom fields you create, you also have those fields to use as well, and same syntax. You've got the curly braces, the open and close, you've got tag underscore, and then the name of the field. Now in these custom field types, it's just the name of the field, and you can see these include spaces, and that's totally fine. That's how it's supposed to be. So even if you don't want to use this tag drop down, a lot of the times you can infer what the tag field will be based on the name of the tag. So in the previous videos, I've shown you some example output of the default list layouts, and those were pretty basic, just having a list of items, real simple, not very interesting. I wanted to show you some more complete examples now that you have a better understanding of layouts in general. So we've created a blog web app that contains blog post web app items, and this is an example of a more customized list layout. So we're just showing a list of items, and if we inspect element and look at the actual HTML code we used for this, you can see that each one of these items we've put inside of a div, and we've applied our own CSS class to that, and then within each of these divs we've got other divs to show a description and output the image with a link, and that's just us defining the HTML for those list views and then putting in the tags to output the appropriate values where necessary. And then if we click on one, it's going to link out to the details view, and again we've defined all the HTML for this page. We've inserted the links for the tags that correspond to the author and the category, as well as the description area of the item itself. So this allows you to pretty much create any kind of layout you want. If we were to go up to the home page where we've got this slider, we've actually created one of our list views as we formatted it to use JSON output, which is just a special JavaScript output that we can use to feed into a plugin to build these different slides up. So you don't even necessarily have to use HTML. We've done this to output XML. We've done this where we've created list views that output JSON, and so on and so forth. And so you can be very, very flexible and get creative and clever with how you use your list templates. But again, keep in mind you only have two, so you really do need to be careful and plan ahead.